This is Terry Bergdahl, and I'm experimenting with my first Pecha Kucha slideshow. I'm using photographs from a Facebook album called Life Journey. It begins with photographs, a photograph with me and my mother and my brother. That's me on the left and Tom sitting on the right. I was born and grew up in Enid, Oklahoma, and attended Enid High School, known as the Enid Plainsmen. And in fact, it was while I was a high school student at Enid High that I first ran into the Ecumenical Institute and attended RS1, which had a big effect upon my future. That experience had a big impact on my life, and in fact, it created a great social awareness and a sense that I needed to respond to things like the civil rights movement, what was happening in worldwide perspective. And by 1970, I went to Chicago. I was a student during that time at Oklahoma City University, and my very first day at OCU, I met my future wife, Pam, who also I found out had been familiar with the Ecumenical Institute. We were finally married in 1971 while we were juniors. Shortly after being married, we went to Nebraska, and we were the regional representatives of the Ecumenical Institute. And then in 1975, we were asked to go to Japan. And this photograph was taken just before we took off. My mother arranged for us to do an interview with my local newspaper. As I now think back on the responsibilities that I had as a regional director of the Institute, it's pretty amazing. Here I am doing a site selection with Joe Matthews and team for a human development project that we finally did in northern Japan in the Hokkaido in a place called Oyibari. Pam and I returned to the United States and worked in Fifth City in 1979 and through 1984, and it was during that time that we had a chance to take this photograph. We thought it really captured our pioneer spirit and our deep connections with the church. I have my family to thank for that. My mother and father, my foster sister Syl, and here's a picture with me with all of them, and my two brothers Tom and Tim. We had quite an upbringing as a missional family in Oklahoma. In 1984, Pam and I went to Africa, where I began working with the Community Members Participation Program, and that was funded by the Swedish Cooperative Center. And it was really carried out as a program with the Institute of Cultural Affairs. It was not all work and no play in Africa. For my 40th birthday, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and here I am at the top right at sunrise. Those are Oreo cookies that Sandra Conant and my wife Pam gave me to eat at the top, and there I did. In Zambia, my friend Hans Hedlund took me to do some fishing, and I caught probably my one and only fish in my life. This is a 40-pound catfish that I thought was a crocodile when it first struck my line, but you can see I'm proud of it. In 1993, Pam and I were asked to go to Ethiopia, and here we're working with a group of Ethiopians in Desi in the Community Empowerment Program. In many ways, I think that's one of the greatest groups of facilitators we worked with the whole time in Africa. It was while I was in Africa that I took up the game of golf again. Here's a photograph and a great opportunity I had to play with Kenneth Kaunda, who was president of Zambia for the first 27 years. I feel very fortunate to have met him and to have played this. President Kaunda was a member of the Royal and Ancient Golf Club. Tom and I went to St. Andrews and played the old course for the first time in 1996. I thought about President Kaunda while we were there. A number of my old colleagues in the Ecumenical Institute, the Institute of Cultural Affairs, decided to create an artistic center, I guess was the first image, in Lidibu in on the coast of Mexico. Well, we built this house with Jim and Karen Troxel. Pam and I returned to North America in 2000, and one of the things that we did when we returned was become active members of the International Association of Facilitators. Here I am attending the conference in Minnesota where I made a presentation on my participatory monitoring evaluation work. That work was really the basis of me doing a lot of international consulting work throughout the early part of the 21st century. That included work like this one here in Serbia, as well as work in the Republic of Georgia. And I like to think of all of my work from the time I was in high school on to even today as having a real breadth of continuity. Robert Truman was my friend in high school, and here I am with him in 2007 at his son's wedding. So I look back on my journey during the last 40 years. I'm very grateful to Pam and the fact that she's always been able to keep our context on the bigger picture clearly in front of us. And that's true today with her emphasis on finding ways of living sustainably. Which, of course, brings me to my current situation as the Executive Director of ICA in the United States. And we hope to push that whole edge of responsible living for the sake of the future in this position. So there you have it, my first PK.